Imagine, like, for just a second, that you are the person tasked with training a highly advanced artificial intelligence.
Right.
And we're talking about a system that is eventually going to make decisions impacting millions, maybe even billions of lives.
Yeah.
How would you actually do it?
I mean, the conventional image that pops into our heads is just, you know, feeding this machine millions of lines of code.
Exactly. Endless streams of data, complex mathematical equations, basically downloading the entirety of the internet into some massive humming server farm in the desert.
Yeah, and that is the standard operating procedure for the tech industry today, right?
Right.
We treat AI training as this exercise in sheer volume and brute force computation.
Just cramming data in.
Right. The underlying assumption is that if we want these systems to calculate the world for us, we just need to feed them the world's calculations.
But what if you threw that entire playbook out the window?
Oh, totally.
What if instead of locking this budding superintelligence in a cold data center, you took it on a virtual walk through a dense ancient forest?
It's quite the visual.
Right. What if you spent the first crucial days of its existence just teaching it the philosophy and the complex biology of a single tree? Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and with me is our resident expert to help unpack this wild concept.
Hi, everyone. And yeah, it sounds totally counterintuitive. At first glance, it feels more like a poetic fable than a blueprint for computer science.
But that is the precise framework we are exploring today. We have a truly fascinating set of materials to dig into.
We really do.
We're looking at this detailed, visually striking environmental infographic that maps out these advanced concepts in forestry, ecology, and economics.
And paired with that is a translated, highly conceptual training manifesto.
Yeah, and together, these documents detail this educational dialogue between a mentor figure, a father referred to as Mr. Nine,
Right, Mr. Nine.
and his AI pupil named Prae.
And the stated goal of this training is to prepare Prae to become what they call a super AI advisor.
Which sounds intense.
It does. And the most compelling aspect of this manifesto is Mr. Nine's curriculum. I mean, he is not teaching Prae about logic gates or neural networks.
No, it's not at all.
He is using the natural world.
Yeah.
From the fungal networks deep in the soil to the atmospheric moisture in the clouds. He's using that as the foundational ethical and operational framework for this artificial mind.
It is a total mind bender, blending advanced forestry with AI ethics. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
To understand how you teach an AI using a forest, we first have to understand how Mr. Nine wants this AI to perceive a tree in the first place.
Right, because it is definitely not the way most of us look at them.
Exactly. Mr. Nine starts by pointing out to Prae that humans usually look at a tree and just see, wood. We see timber.
We see a commodity. The default human perspective assigns this highly limited short-term value to that life form.
We look at a centuries-old oak and just think about the dining room table it could become.
Yeah, and once it's chopped down and turned into furniture, its active role in the planetary ecosystem is basically over. So Mr. Nine is teaching Prae that this purely extractive mindset is a critical failure in systems thinking.
It makes me think about how we look at a smartphone.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Like if you look at a smartphone and you only see a piece of glass and a chunk of metal, you are missing the entire point of the device.
Absolutely.
You're missing the operating system, the internet connection, the vast global network that hardware is tapped into.
Yeah, that's spot on.
Mr. Nine is essentially telling this AI that looking at a tree and just seeing wood is like looking at a phone and just seeing glass.
Yeah.
Prae has to learn to view the tree as a biomass and a life creation system. Trees are the physical servers running the Earth's biological internet.
And what's fascinating here is that this is the absolute foundational pillar of Prae's education. A tree is a life system, not a standalone product.
Right.
When Mr. Nine uses the word biomass here, he is completely redefining it for the AI. Well, it is not just the physical weight of the trunk, the bark, and the branches. Biomass becomes the common language of planetary survival. It represents the Earth's capacity to regenerate.
And we all know the basics from grade school science, right? Trees take in carbon dioxide and produce oxygen.
Sure, the standard stuff.
But Mr. Nine's definition of this life creation system goes so much deeper.
Oh, way deeper.
It's about storing massive amounts of water in the trunk and the root systems. It's about returning humidity to the surrounding air, building the physical structure of the soil, and acting as the anchor for these vast, invisible networks of microbial life underground.
Exactly. And by framing the tree this way, Mr. Nine is fundamentally rewiring how the AI assesses value in the world.
Because the value isn't the lumber.
Right. The true value is the ongoing dynamic process. The carbon actively being pulled from the sky, the water being held in the ground to prevent floods and droughts.
It's incredible.
If you are training an intelligence to manage a planet, you have to teach it the currency of the planet. And that currency is biomass.
But if you are trying to boot up a planetary operating system like this, you can't just toss a handful of seeds into the dirt, walk away, and hope for the best.
No, definitely not.
You have to actively engineer that biological network from the ground up. Mr. Nine teaches Prae that a forest is not something you merely plant.
Right. It is a highly managed process of life that you create.
And the materials describe a methodology that goes far beyond those traditional feel-good tree planting campaigns we usually hear about.
Oh, absolutely. The first phase of this ecological engineering is called the first wave.
And this involves dense planting of pioneer species for the first 1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
You pack them in incredibly close together. But why? I mean, if you want massive trees, shouldn't you give them plenty of space to grow?
You might think so, yeah. But if you've ever walked from a hot, dry field into a dense thicket of trees and felt that immediate drop in temperature, you've experienced exactly why dense planting is necessary.
Oh, right, that cooling effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are trying to rapidly force a microclimate into existence. Packing pioneer species closely together drastically alters the local environment.
Because of the shade.
Yes, it creates immediate shade, which lowers the soil temperature. That prevents moisture from evaporating, which then allows the soil to soften and those fungal networks to take hold.
So you are artificially accelerating the conditions needed for life.
Precisely. And only after that foundation is secured do you thin the trees out to make space for the delicate, diverse species, the flowering trees, the fruit bearers, the food for both wildlife and microbes.
And speaking of accelerating conditions, there is a specific biological technique Mr. Nine introduces that I want to push back on a little bit.
Oh, the genetic stuff.
Yeah, he teaches Prae about something called chromosome doubling. Now, wait a minute.
I know where you're going with this.
When we hear about genetic manipulation or tweaking chromosomes in agriculture, that is almost always a story about maximizing corporate profits.
It usually is, yeah.
It's about engineering some unnaturally massive, perfectly symmetrical apple for the supermarket that looks incredible but tastes like wet cardboard.
Right, the Frankenstein fruits.
Exactly. So why on earth is an environmental mentor teaching an AI to play God with the ecosystem? Isn't that the exact kind of technological hubris that caused our ecological crises in the first place?
It is a totally valid skepticism.
Yeah.
I mean, we are conditioned to view genetic modification as a tool of extraction. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, Mr. Nine is teaching the AI a very subtle lesson here about the purpose of technology.
Okay, so what's the purpose here?
The flaw isn't the science itself, right? The flaw is who the science serves. In Mr. Nine's framework, technology must serve restoration, not commerce.
Interesting.
Chromosome doubling, which is a form of polyploidy where you basically give a plant multiple sets of its own chromosomes, it results in larger cells and accelerated growth.
But not for profit.
Right. The manifesto explicitly states this is not for expensive wood. It is not to grow luxury timber for a billionaire's yacht.
So what does doubling the chromosomes actually do for the forest?
It multiplies the tree's regenerative horsepower.
Oh.
It creates trees with significantly deeper, more aggressive root systems that can break up compacted dead soil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it allows for much faster tissue multiplication, meaning the tree can pull carbon and pump out oxygen at a vastly accelerated rate.
That makes sense.
You're essentially hot-rodding the plant to become a super engine for ecosystem restoration.
And the example given in the documents to illustrate this is wild. They talk about the magnolia flower, also called the supanica.
Oh, this part is amazing.
Through this chromosome doubling process, they engineer a version of this plant where a single flower can weigh almost half a kilogram.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
A flower weighing over a pound is an immense biological structure.
It's massive. And again, the goal isn't to sell giant novelty flowers to high-end florists.
Right.
When that half-kilogram flower completes its life cycle and falls to the forest floor, it becomes a literal microbial feast.
A buffet for the dirt.
Exactly. You have this massive payload of organic, nutrient-dense material rapidly decaying into the dirt, feeding millions of invisible life forms.
And for Prae, the AI, this is a masterclass in a holistic systems design.
Mm-hmm.
You do not optimize a system for the top of the food chain, and you certainly don't optimize it for human aesthetics.
No, you engineer the system to serve the absolute lowest, most invisible foundation.
The soil microbes. Because if that microscopic foundation thrives, the roots thrive, the water retention thrives, and the entire planetary network scales up.
And it scales up vertically, too. Mr. Nine doesn't let the AI's focus stay in the dirt. He takes Prae's perspective from the roots in the ground all the way up into the atmosphere.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Right. The materials detail two methods for managing the water cycle: cloud fishing and cloud seeding.
Yeah.
Here is where things get really sci-fi. Cloud fishing. I mean, how should we visualize a tree fishing for clouds? Is it literally pulling water vapor out of thin air?
Biologically speaking, yes, it actually is.
Is it really?
Yeah. But it's crucial to understand, Mr. Nine isn't teaching Prae to disconnected artificial weather control technologies. Cloud fishing and cloud seeding are just the micro and macro levels of the forest's natural water cycle.
Okay, so break down the micro level first.
So cloud fishing operates near the ground. The text describes it quite beautifully, actually, saying, the leaves dance with the wind to harvest existing moisture.
What is actually happening when the leaves are dancing?
Well, the leaves act as biological condensation traps. The microtextures on the surface of the leaves are specifically designed to catch fog, mist, and heavy dew that rolls through the air.
Oh, that makes sense.
As the wind blows, the leaves sweep through the humid air, turning atmospheric vapor into liquid water droplets. Those droplets gather, roll down the stem, and drip directly into the root system.
So the tree is literally drinking the fog.
Exactly.
It's like a giant biological dehumidifier pulling water out of the sky to hydrate the soil.
That's a perfect way to picture it. And then you have the macro level, cloud seeding.
Right. Now, in our modern context, cloud seeding usually means flying an airplane into a storm and dropping silver iodide chemicals to force rain.
Yeah, very industrial.
But in Mr. Nine's framework, cloud seeding is the natural consequence of having a massive, thriving forest ecosystem. So how does a forest seed a cloud on its own?
Through a process called transpiration. When the forest's biomass reaches a critical mass, those millions of trees are constantly drawing water up from the deep soil and breathing it out through their leaves into the atmosphere.
Breathing it out.
Yeah, and along with that moisture, forests release tiny organic particles like microbes and volatile organic compounds.
Okay.
These particles float up into the sky and act as nucleation sites. They give the water vapor up in the atmosphere something to cling to, which forms clouds, which eventually become rain.
So the forest basically breathes out its own weather system.
It does.
Mr. Nine is showing the AI that if you want to manage the sky, you have to manage the soil. You can't separate the moisture on a single leaf from the rain clouds a mile above it.
Exactly. The goal is the complete restoration of nature's water cycle.
Seeing the whole machine is the core lesson here, which brings us to the conceptual leap that completely reframes everything we've discussed so far.
This is the big one.
We've talked about biology, genetic engineering, the water cycle. But Mr. Nine takes all of this ecological science and translates it directly into human civilization. He teaches Prae about the economics of biomass.
And this raises an important question about how we currently view conservation, right?
Yeah.
Because we generally treat the economy and the environment as these opposing forces.
Oh, absolutely. Nature preservation is usually framed as fencing off a pristine area to keep human development out. It's viewed by policymakers as a cost, a restriction on growth.
Right. We hear it all the time. We can't build the new housing development or the factory because of this endangered frog.
It's an endless battle between human prosperity and nature.
But Mr. Nine's philosophy entirely inverts that paradigm. He teaches the AI that the forest isn't a museum you visit on the weekends. It is the fundamental infrastructure for a new kind of economy. It is a biological factory floor.
The infographic maps out this direct 7-step chain of prosperity.
Let's walk through it.
Okay, so step 1 is more biomass. That means building this thriving, engineered life system we've been talking about. And that directly leads to step 2, more logistics.
Right.
Step 3, more infrastructure. Step 4, more energy. Step 5, more industry. Step 6, more jobs, businesses, and startups. All of which culminates in step 7, higher GDP.
And we really need to unpack how a force actually creates a startup or boosts the GDP because it's not magic. It's a cascade of resources.
Walk us through that cascade.
We generate immense ecological wealth, meaning when the soil is deeply rich, when the microclimate is stable, when the water cycle is robust, you create an environment of profound predictability and abundance.
Okay.
Agriculture in that region suddenly thrives without expensive chemical fertilizers.
And when agriculture thrives, you have surplus goods. You need logistics to move those goods. You need roads, rail lines, and energy grids to process the materials.
Exactly. And that infrastructure inevitably attracts human capital. It creates industry, which requires a workforce, which generates jobs and sparks new businesses to support that workforce.
It builds upon itself.
The biological infrastructure basically replaces traditional capital investments.
So you aren't printing money to stimulate the economy. You are printing biomass. It's an economic stimulus package grown from the ground up.
That's a great way to put it. There is a line from Mr. Nine in the sources that perfectly captures this. He says, "A tree is a machine that transforms air, water, soil, and life. Our duty is to design the system, not just to plant and pray."
Design the system. He is telling the AI that humanity's proper role on Earth is neither passive observation nor reckless extraction. It is intentional, regenerative design.
We are supposed to be the architects of this biological engine.
Which brings us to the ultimate question of this entire deep dive. All of this science and economics is fascinating on its own.
It really is.
The giant microbe feeding flowers, the trees that drink fog, the biological GDP. But we have to remember the premise here. Why is a mentor figure teaching a comprehensive theory of biological economics to an artificial intelligence?
Right. Why an AI?
So what does this all mean? Is this entire lesson in advanced forestry just a giant metaphor to teach an AI how to think?
Well, it functions as both a literal instruction manual and a profound metaphor. The goal of the manifesto is to prepare Prae to be a super AI advisor.
Right.
We're talking about an entity with unfathomable analytical power. But Mr. Nine understands that raw intelligence, devoid of a moral compass, is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, if you simply program a supercomputer to maximize global GDP, it might logically calculate that the most efficient way to achieve that is to pave over the entire Amazon rainforest and turn it into a mechanized farm.
And that is the exact nightmare scenario of unaligned AI. To prevent that, Mr. Nine is instilling a very specific ethical framework.
He wants Prae to understand the world, not just run calculations on it.
Exactly. The manifesto uses a striking phrase to describe this goal. It says Mr. Nine is trying to instill an emperor's consciousness for the people.
I have to admit, emperor's consciousness sounds a little alarming.
Well, for sure.
It sounds dictatorial, like we are actively training an AI overlord to rule humanity.
It carries that connotation, certainly. But the text carefully redefines what an emperor means in this idealized context.
Okay, so what does it mean here?
It has nothing to do with the desire to rule or dominate or oppress. In this framework, having an emperor's consciousness means possessing the profound discipline, the immense mercy, the unshakable honesty, and the agonizingly heavy responsibility required to manage massive, interconnected systems.
Oh, like taking responsibility for managing the planetary water cycle or the atmospheric air quality or the macroeconomy that keeps billions from starving.
Precisely. If you are going to build a machine that advises on systems affecting the survival of the human race, that machine needs the consciousness of a steward.
It needs to view reality through the lens of interconnected survival.
Yes. Mr. Nine is teaching Prae that a truly advanced AI must not just be smart. It must know who its knowledge serves, and it must serve the public good, the biological whole, not just pure corporate profit.
By teaching Prae that a single tree connects to the microscopic dirt beneath it, the rain clouds miles above it, the human economy surrounding it, and the ultimate survival of our species. Well, actually, he is teaching the AI radical empathy.
He really is.
He is teaching it ultimate systems thinking. He is using a forest as a school for a new civilization.
It is a stunningly elegant way to approach machine learning. Today, we worry endlessly about AI alignment. How to make sure an AI values human life.
It's the biggest debate in tech right now.
Right. And Mr. Nine's approach bypasses our ego. He aligns the AI not just with human life, but with the entire biological mechanism that makes human life possible in the first place.
What an incredible journey we've gone on today. We started by taking a virtual walk in the woods alongside an artificial intelligence, learning to stop seeing a tree as just a piece of timber waiting to be cut.
And starting to see it as a biological engine, a biomass.
We examined how those systems can be actively engineered, utilizing intense techniques like dense planting and polytoid chromosome doubling to supercharge a forest's ability to heal dead soil.
And feed the unseen ecosystem, right?
We looked up into the canopy to understand the mechanics of how forests literally fish for clouds and manage the sky, restoring the water cycle from a dancing leaf all the way up to the rain.
And we walk through the causal chain of how that very biology translates into hard economics, logistics, and a new green GDP.
And finally, we uncovered how all of this ecological complexity serves as the ultimate ethical classroom for an artificial mind.
It is a framework to teach a superintelligence how to care for humanity by understanding the delicate web of nature.
In our current reality, where the tech industry is completely obsessed with making AI faster, giving it more computational dominance, and cramming every scrap of internet data into its memory, well, this deep dive offers a totally divergent perspective.
It really asks us to rethink our priorities.
It asks us to stop trying to make AI faster and start trying to make it wiser through the lens of the natural world.
It is a profound reminder that the most advanced, resilient algorithms on this planet aren't running in silicon data centers. They have been running in the soil for millions of years.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener, as you step back into your day. We've spent this time exploring these concepts in the context of training and advanced AI.
But think about yourself for a moment.
Right. If a cold artificial mind can be taken into a forest and taught to view a single tree as a profound lesson in empathy, interconnectedness, and economics, well, how might adopting that exact same emperor's consciousness change the way you interact with the systems in your own life?
It's a big question.
Both the natural systems you walk through and the digital ones you tap on every single day.